Hey everyone, the mouse with here, reacting to Undertale's Creepiest Theory. Well, I know this video is going to be creepy. Indeed, Amy, but let's have a look first to see if it's good. Hang on, why is it going? Oh no, this reads in dark. What the?
We all know Undertale's genocide route is a disturbing experience, and it didn't need a creepypasta to make it any worse than it already was. Or so we thought. Until a few days ago, when this user decided to post the following: a disturbing image of Frisk, accompanied by a theory that postulates that as your love increases, Frisk's body physically deforms, reaching its worst state at level 20. They stop looking like a human and become literally the monster that Asgore and almost every other monster sees when interacting with them on the genocide route. And this went beyond just another theory, because there are actually many clues that support this idea, clues that have been right in front of us this whole time.
Complete creative freedom.
I
Welcome to Affinity.
See this theory.
3 customers can now automatically use Vodafone's network for more coverage.
From Papyrus's bewilderment, who no longer knows what that thing is in front of him, Undyne's doubt, who calls Frisk whatever you are before her final battle, Flowey's absolute terror, who begs you to stop making that creepy face, and many more things we will see in this video. And so today, since it's Halloween, we're going to explore the full story of this theory, trying to go a step further to see how Frisk became a monster, not just in spirit, but physically, thanks to the dust that slowly covered them, changing their appearance as they lost their humanity. Chapter 1: The Metamorphosis. As we all know, Undertale's genocide route completely transforms the adventure. Instead of overcoming battles by sparing monsters, or only fighting a few, the goal becomes exterminating every single creature you encounter. As a result, Frisk's love, or level of violence, skyrockets far beyond what's normal. And as their love increases, so do their HP, attack, and defense. From the player's perspective, it's just stats changing. Frisk looks the same. However, the inhabitants of the underground perceive another change that goes unnoticed by us. They see a being that is no longer human, a creature whose very essence has metamorphosed with each level gained, becoming something that terrifies the monsters themselves. This theory might not be as famous as some others in the Undertale community because the character's sprite never changes. Frisk ends the game looking the same as they did when they started, regardless of the choices made. However, countless things in Undertale are hinted at rather than shown directly. This makes it clear that the player's top-down view only captures a fraction of what's happening in this world. This theory has gained a lot of traction recently, largely thanks to fan art depicting Frisk's changing appearance as their LV rises, showing them slowly losing their humanity. The signs of this change began even before we reach Snowdin. We see a Frisk who ignores all of Sans' warnings, but before they leave the area, Sans tells him, Sans knows this being isn't a normal human. It's something evil under the skin of a small child. Even though their LV hasn't climbed that high at this point, it's no surprise that the older skeleton would be the first to realize this thing was merely pretending to be a person. Not everyone is able to see this change right away. Papyrus, for instance, still recognizes them as a human. However, the very absence of NPC monsters in the overworld indicates that they did notice. They must have sensed this creature approaching from a distance and fled while they still could, praying it wouldn't harm them. Even Pap starts to notice something is wrong with Frisk. Papyrus, the purest and friendliest character, can tell how off Frisk is on this route. Most importantly, he mentions a change we, as players, cannot see: the dust on their hands. We know that in Undertale, when a monster dies, they turn to dust. Normally, their remains are spread on their favorite object so their essence can live on. But on the genocide route, all that dust from the monster's remains falls on Frisk. As they strike the final blow, their hands become coated in the essence of these beings. While nothing confirms it, one of the most popular theories claims this very dust is what increases Frisk's LV, boosting their stats to face anyone who stands in their way. At this point in the adventure, Frisk still retains human features, but as more dust settles on their hands, their metamorphosis becomes more apparent. The next person to comment on Frisk's appearance is Undyne. After saving Monster Kid by taking the blow, she holds on through sheer determination and says, Undyne knows she's fighting something different, a being that looks like a human but is horribly twisted. It's also worth remembering that this route features the game's toughest battles. This version of Frisk has been wounded time and again, only to return through their determination. These deformities could also be attributed to the scars of countless defeats, each one leaving its mark and disfiguring their being. Metaton, an expert on image and appearance, tells Frisk their reputation has grown in tandem with their body's distortion. Though their transformation isn't yet complete, it's clear their face has become unsettling. Even Muffet, who on a normal route playfully suggests using Frisk as an ingredient, is direct on the genocide run.
You can make more than a mark with a Sharpie. Create. Think in color with Sharpie.
Oh my god, ads.
When you're giving a gift, think wait.
Okay, this video just gets stranger by the second.
Frisk's appearance has become so disfigured that to Muffet, there is something that is actively rotting. The metamorphosis is nearly complete. Frisk's human body is dying, leaving behind a being of pure malice. But it's Burger Pants who seems to confirm that Frisk's appearance has reached a repugnant level. His expression changes the moment he sees them enter his shop, and he wonders why he always gets the weirdos. Instead of calling them Little Buddy, he refers to them as a little weirdo, showing that by this point, their appearance can only be described as bizarre. But the true change comes after defeating Metaton and advancing to New Home. There we are shown, Chapter 2, The Fear.
And there's Flower. Flowey. I knew that bingo. Are you sure about that?
Flowey, who at first was thrilled that Frisk embraced his kill or be killed philosophy, finally understands what it means to take it to the extreme. For the first time, he fears for his own life. He regrets what he wished for and tries to stop them from continuing down this path. But the most revealing part is the creepy face he claims Frisk is making. Yes, the very Flower known for his own twisted expressions, for transforming into one of the most shocking and disturbing final bosses in gaming history, insists that Frisk's face is creepy. This implies that by now, their face has become completely disfigured. Their humanity has vanished with every genocidal act. They are now so frightening that Flowey, the same Flowey who boasts about killing everyone and resetting time again and again, the one who ends the neutral route with a save file at LB 9999, is left trembling in fear. He is terrified by Frisk's corruption, by a face far more deformed than any of his own twisted visages. The one who finally confirms Frisk's complete loss of humanity is Asgar, the king of monsters, someone who witnessed firsthand what humans are capable of, who fought in the war against them and saw his people sealed in the underground, says this upon seeing Frisk.
He doesn't even refer to him as human.
Asgore is struck down instantly by Frisk's attack, but Flowey arrives to finish the job, pleading that he was never against them. He desperately tries to make excuses to avoid his inevitable fate, but at this point, not even the player can control Frisk anymore. They have transformed into another creature entirely, and when Flowey's dust settles upon them, their body changes, and Chara returns to life.
Alright. Oh.
Welcome back.
Oh,
As
great.
the
Thanks a lot.
worrying,
You
unexplained
this ad
situation continues in Hawkins, Indiana. Here's Annika.
You can be bold and chip in for Hawkins by wearing your support.
Now,
What the? Strange.
We rejoin the race here at a pivotal time, and to say it's getting hairy at the front is an understatement. These kind of
that's nice,
aerodynamics
dog.
will certainly
You're
come
just
back
like
to haunt them.
Adam.
They're at every stage, Lloyd's, proud partners of British cycling.
From this moment on, it's impossible to return to the game, and regardless of your choice, the world will be erased. It's curious how Chara appears to have rosy cheeks, as if they've applied makeup, perhaps to hide a body so deformed that it needs to be concealed. When they finally destroy the world, with a disfigured face, and a laugh far more corrupted than Flowey's, leaving behind an infinite void, re-entering the game and waiting in the darkness long enough will prompt Chara to offer a way to recreate the world, in exchange for the player's soul. We all know what happens after that. No matter if the player chooses to walk the pacifist path and see the happy ending, when everyone goes to sleep and Frisk lies in bed, their eyes flash red, revealing that Chara is still there, controlling Frisk's body and soul. If the player decides to undertake the genocide route a second time, Chara will greet them with new words.
Odd. And a bit creepy, don't you think? Indeed, Amy.
Chara's final statement is the key. It suggests the genocide route wasn't just a series of bad decisions, but the fulfillment of a purpose. Frisk's physical metamorphosis, the dust accumulating on their hands, and the rising LV wasn't the corruption of a human. It was the preparation of a vessel. Frisk's body was transforming into the perfect host for Chapter 3, The Demon. Chara's story is the great tragedy that twisted the Underground's fate, tearing families apart and condemning the monsters. A human who fell into the ruins and was found by the dreamer's son, Azrael. He brought them to his parents, the king and queen, who adopted them. Chara and Azrael became as close as siblings. The VHS tapes imply that Chara learned of the Delta Rune prophecy and, with Azrael's help, devised a plan to break the barrier and free the monsters. After their death, Chara's soul was absorbed by Azrael and they shared control of his body. Chara exerted great influence over Azrael's decisions, carrying their own body through the barrier to their home village. There, they were attacked by humans who assumed Azrael had killed the child. Chera wanted to use their full power to destroy the attackers, but Azrael resisted, which ultimately led to him being mortally wounded. He returned to the underground and crumbled to dust in the Garden of New Home. But this wasn't the end for Azrael, or for Chera. Later, as part of Elfie's experiments with determination, she injected the substance into one of the golden flowers in the garden, the first to bloom after Azrael's death. The initial experiments were unsuccessful, and Elfie's returned the flower to Asgore. Shortly after being replanted, Azrael awoke in the garden, reincarnated as Flowey. Despite being alive, he couldn't feel any emotional response toward his parents. He had no soul and was therefore incapable of feeling love, joy, or compassion. This led him to grow bored with his world and begin committing genocidal acts just to see what would happen. However, it seems this wasn't due to a lack of a soul. After all, Flowey shows us he can feel fear, sorrow, and even regret. His actions may not stem from an absence, but from the presence of Chera, who was still influencing his actions, pushing the flower to achieve the highest possible level. The true limitations of not having a soul are what made Chera require another human to fulfill their goal. Flowey had reached LV 9999, but to be resurrected, Chera needed a human body and soul again. This is why Chera influences Frisk to take the genocide route, even though that path ends with Flowey's own death sentence. At LV 20, Frisk was no longer human. The execution points and levels of violence that had boosted their stats had completely deformed them. But after finishing off Flowey, the 9999 levels he had achieved were transferred directly to Frisk. Their now distorted body became the perfect vessel for the dead. Chera seizes control, and from then on, it's impossible to ever truly regain control of that body. The reason Chara insists on erasing the game and moving on to the next is obvious. They know the player can go back and undo their resurrection, that they can fix everything as if it never happened. That's why Chara uses their power to keep the world in darkness. It's why they agreed to recreate the world on the sole condition that they get the player's soul. That way, it doesn't matter if you choose the pacifist path next time. Chara has returned, and nothing can stop them. Frisk's metamorphosis is just one step in bringing something far more dangerous to life. This transformation they undergo is like a chrysalis forming around the caterpillar, twisting their body and making it unrecognizable. But what emerges from this shapeless mass isn't a colorful, vibrant creature. It's a demon, seeking only destruction and the freedom to do whatever it wants. The underground is an abyss of secrets we've only just begun to scratch the surface of. What do you think? Do you believe Chara was manipulating Flowey from within all along? Or did Flowey act on his own until Frisk appeared? Who is the Deltarune version of Chara? Does a demon Chris and Caddy try to summon have anything to do with Chara? Leave all your theories down in the comments. I always read them.
Well, this is very confusing. I suppose we better do some thinking. Bye everyone.